Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Our focus this morning has been on county government. I just spoke with Milwaukee County Executive Chris Abele about his $1.19 billion budget proposal for 2017. And we're now being joined by a member of the Milwaukee County Board of Supervisors who represents the 5th District, Supervisor Marcellia Nicholson. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
This, of course, is your first year in office as a Milwaukee County Board Supervisor. Tell us a little bit more about your background and what got you interested in politics.
Absolutely. So I'm a lifelong resident of Milwaukee, a very proud graduate of Milwaukee Public Schools. I attended Milwaukee School of Languages. I got my degree at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee in communications, and I'm pursuing my Master's of Arts in Education at Mount Mary College. I also teach 4th grade at Milwaukee Public Schools in addition to serving on the County Board of Supervisors. And so I first became interested in politics when Barack Obama was elected. I canvassed for his campaign, and when he was elected, I saw that there's a possibility of representation in a field that was dominated by white men. And when I started working at Milwaukee Public Schools, I got active in a teachers union, and I canvassed and I organized and I drove membership and I canvassed for progressive candidates, and I realized how politicized education is in Wisconsin. And I found that the best way to advocate for our students' needs, in addition to working in front of them every day, was to get directly involved
in making decisions that make a difference.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
And it is so, I think you would say, inspiring because so many people look at how President Barack Obama started out as a community organizer and then took it to the White House. So he inspired you as well, obviously.
Yes, he did. Absolutely.
That's good stuff. So each supervisor represents about 53,000 people, and as I mentioned, you represent the 5th District. So what areas does that border?
So that's Townsend, and it runs south to I-94, out west of 27th Street to I-41. The Marquette interchange, so essentially the Washington Park area, Market Center, Performing Arts area, and I have the 3rd Ward.
Oh, wow. So a nice melting pot.
Very diverse in terms of race and economics.
Yeah. And you actually grew up in the 53206 zip code, and it's often referred to as the most incarcerated zip code in America. And obviously there are hardworking families who live there and who have gone on to do great things. And with that said, what in your opinion needs to be done to help break down some of the statistics that come with unemployment and incarceration and the breakdown of the family?
Absolutely. I mean, there are absolutely hardworking families in that zip code. My family was one of them. And I think as a state, we have to look at this less in terms of numbers, but as a real issue facing people of color. People are being polarized because they were born black. And we have to look at the issue, which is poverty. And I think there are 3 big categories that will affect these statistics, or rather break down these statistics, and that's raising wages, I would say funding public education, and I would say not criminalizing poverty. In terms of raising wages, $7.25 an hour is not a wage that can feed and clothe and pay bills for a family.
Very true.
When we look at funding education, our students need resources. They need academic resources and supplies. They need extracurricular activities. They need social services. They need the things that their suburban counterparts get very freely so that they can succeed, because bad education leads to poverty. And we need to stop criminalizing poverty. Our communities are saturated with police. Our black men and boys are racially profiled and charged astronomically compared to their white counterparts. And poor people can't navigate the criminal justice system. They can't afford to pay top lawyers. And so we need to look at how we're serving that community in that way and reform the criminal justice system.
Wow, and I can tell that passion for education is always there, and that's a good thing, because a lot of times you have people who are in politics who can relate to one thing and not another, but you really seem to have an understanding across the board from so many different directions. So you did mention the living wage, and Just like the county executive, you want to raise the county's living wage to $15 an hour by 2022. Talk about how we can make that possible and why. You kind of made it clear why it's so important.
Yes.
So how can we make that possible?
Well, so I actually just put forth a substitute resolution which will get that living wage in 2021 versus 2022. And we can make it possible because just like me, my colleagues on the county board are passionate about the working people and giving them living wages that they need to sustain their families. It's absolutely important because no one should have to work 2 or 3 low-wage jobs to provide for their families. And at the county level, we have the opportunity to set a precedent for the city and the state so that $15 becomes the norm, period. And so I'm absolutely committed to making it happen and speaking to as many people that I need to ensure our families get what they deserve.
Yeah, and Marcellia, when you were running for office, one of your main goals was to help prioritize public transportation. With that said, I'd love to know your thoughts about the county executive's Save Transit plan and the $60 annual wheel tax that he has proposed. There are a lot of people who heard that and they're automatically like, oh, no, no, no. What are your thoughts?
It's rough. It's rough. Well, you know, fortunately, the last 5 years under the county executive, he's avoided any sort of taxing. It's sort of been kicking a can down the road. And in our case, it's a raggedy road because they need to be fixed, right?
Right.
But we're at the end of that. And unfortunately, the wheel tax is the only tool we have at the county right now to provide the revenue we need for public transportation, for our highways, for our parkways. And it's important, and it was a priority for me, because our families use those ways to get to school and to work and to the grocery store and to their doctor's appointments. And so a $60 wheel tax, do I like? No. I support the $30 amendment that the board has put forth. And actually a referendum may have the possibility to be passed at the board meeting coming up so that the voters, the people, can elect whether or not they want this, because this is who it ultimately affects.
Absolutely, it does affect the people.
Yes.
And so we talk about the level of poverty in our city, and if someone's barely able to, you know, pay the fees that are already there for maybe their state registration, and if they live in Milwaukee, that's another $20 wheel tax, and then you tack on more money. You know, it's hard, especially when all that stuff is due at the same time. So it really is, it's a shaky ground on how to make the right decision for all the people. But I think a referendum allowing the people to vote is really sounding good.
And we also need to get our state to start refunding our public transportation system and stop starving us of the resources we need here in Milwaukee.
And so with that particular wheel tax, which of course would go with road maintenance and actually really preserving the pass that a lot of people use right now, and it is pretty much affordable. If this doesn't pass, there's a chance that that might get higher, things of that nature. But the county executive has actually said that this wheel tax is the single most important budget issue. A lot of things going on in the city.
Right.
Would you agree that it's the single most?
You know, in terms of raising the revenue that we need to, you know, provide those services and maintain those services that our people deserve, you know, to the level that our people deserve. Absolutely true. That's very important. But there are other issues that people are concerned about. There's the Go Pass that people are concerned about. I'm personally concerned about the Office of African American Affairs. There was $300,000 allocated to the office, and the county executive asked for more, yet we haven't seen any viable things coming out of that office.
Yeah, we've heard about it, but no real action as to what it would provide to
There's no director. We have yet to find a director. And so I think that's important to look at, because that was meant to stimulate the African American community, and we need to stimulate the African American community. So I would say that is an important issue.
Yes, and he has actually proposed money to go towards really career development and things of that nature. But I found it interesting that that was the single most important issue in the budget.
Right.
So I just wanted to get your take on that. And we talked about you being an educator, and really I don't know how you do all these things and balance it all, but you know, us women, we can, you know, bring home the bacon and fry it up in a can.
Exactly.
Did I say fried up in a can? In a pan,
We're
you know.
We could use a can too.
Absolutely. And so basically, with that said, you had the county executive. He was here and talked extensively about the Opportunity Schools and Partnership Program when that was an issue. And now there's the fact that MPS is no longer required to participate. I want your opinion because you are an educator, because you are an MPS product, all of those things. Talk about it.
So I personally feel like the OSPP was a dangerous attack on Milwaukee Public Schools. Milwaukee is already oversaturated with experimental voucher and charter schools. Many of them don't perform. Many of them are unsuccessful, and many of them close in the middle of the night. And so let's backtrack. Less than half of our Milwaukee students attend Milwaukee Public Schools. So it begs me to ask the question, who are these reformers really trying to help? You know, our students or their own pockets? And so I'm glad that MPS is no longer, I'm overjoyed that MPS is no longer, you know, eligible for this takeover. And it shows just how successful we can be despite the barriers that we have to overcome, despite the English language learner population, the high special ed population, the high poverty population that we service, you know, every day. And so I'm committed, just like our parents, just like our community members, and just like other educators, to ensuring that the Milwaukee Public Schools continues to succeed and we continue to see those goals be met and overcome and exceed expectations.
Yeah, and I think it's a breath of fresh air because we're always hearing about how bad things are, but it gives some recognition to Dr. Driver as a superintendent that progress is being made, and it really is, that was great news, so thank you for giving your opinion.
Elated, and we're all working hard. So.
Yeah, and you are, and we thank you for all of your time in, you know, dealing with the politics of the county and also educating our children. So appreciate all that you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Marcellia Nicholson is a county supervisor for District 5. Again, you can log on to milwaukee.gov to find out more about the Milwaukee County Board of Supervisors and where they stand on the issues. And that's going to do it for today's show. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope you join us again next week as we take another look at our issues in Milwaukee. Have a great day.